Golden Dayan, I bring greetings from the Icelanders in North Dakota. A special thanks to President Almar Grímsson and his wife, Anna Björk, and to the entire 2010 Icelandic National League of Iceland Convention. The descendants of the Icelandic pioneers in North Dakota hope you'll come to visit us and see our Icelandic settlement area. Thank you to Hildur and Odni and my wonderful husband Jeff and our kids for this new Icelandic national costume, for my 50th birthday present, and for my first Mother's Day as an amma. Many people think of North Dakota and they think winter. Well, yes, we do have some pretty tough days. Sometimes the snow is blowing and it is pretty horrible outside. Most of the winter, though, is bright and sunny, and we can play outside and have lots of fun. And don't worry, North Dakota does not shut down, even in the winter. The Western Icelanders are tough, and we embrace our heritage through it all, celebrating with a Thorabloat party in the worst part of winter, and it is great fun. Winter only lasts a short time, and then we have a beautiful spring, hot and sunny summers, and the most incredible fall weather you can ever imagine. I was born 100 years after the birth of my Langafi Olafur Olafsson. My Icelandic ancestors are from Langanes, Eyjafjörður, Skagafjörður, immigrating from 1882 to 1905. Their original homesteads is where I was raised. This land is still farmed by Olafsson brothers, my uncles and cousins, raising Simmental cattle, farming, and having an earth-moving construction business. I was baptized, confirmed, and married in the Icelandic North Dakota churches. My great-grandparents were among the pioneer settlers that built this church, which is known as Þingvalla or Eyford. The area was first settled by Jacob Sigurdsson Eyford. In 2003, the church and all the original artifacts burned to the ground in an accidental fire. It was so sad for all the people in the area, especially those of us brought up in that beautiful house of worship. The decision was made that the building would not be rebuilt. Instead, a memorial was planned, which included a tall bronze Christus statue, a native prairie garden, and 6 storyboard panels that tell the story of the Icelandic pioneers. I volunteered to do all this research and design these panels, and now people can come here and learn more, including a panel on Cowan Julius, the poet who could turn tears into laughter. Icelandic visitors come to Þingvalla. They visit his grave and monument, read his poetry, and give him a toast. Skál! In 1878, the leader that brought the Icelanders to Dakota was their pastor, Páll Thorleifsson. He was born at Húsavík in 1849 and emigrated from Iceland in 1872. He is known as the father of the Icelandic settlement in Dakota. Many hardships were endured by the Icelandic pioneers in Canada, and many decided they must leave for the promising new Icelandic settlement in Dakota. Pastor Páll left Canada on April 22, 1878, to search for a suitable location to move the Icelanders from Canada. He traveled along with about 20 other men on a steamboat called Lady Ellen to Winnipeg and then on to Dakota to search for land throughout May of that year. One of the first explorers in Pembina County was Johan Pétur Hallsson. He and his son Gunnar built the first Icelandic home in the settlement. It was 14 feet by 12 feet by 5 feet high, and 9 people lived there. The first settlers built sod homes, or rough log cabins. This was tough going in that North Dakota prairie winter, but the settlement grew fast. This is the Icelandic church called Hallsson. It's now located at the Icelandic State Park, and you should come to see it. Here's more photos from the Icelandic State Park. There's an interpretive center, a log cabin, the Northeast North Dakota Heritage Center, and it's open to the public. Yes, even in the winter. There are spring-fed wetlands, rivers, and the lake for swimming. There's woodlands and oaks and wetland thickets and native prairie and rare animals, plants, and birds that are found in the nature preserve open to the public for bird watching, hiking, and cross-country skiing. The bird list includes 266 different species that live at the Icelandic State Park. The land for the park was donated by Gunnlaugur Bjarni Gunnlaugsson from the land homesteaded by his father, Egert, from the Eyjafjörður. This family belonged to the Icelandic church called Vidalin. There's a cemetery there too. In the Svald or Sand Hills area, there's the Peters Church, and they have a cemetery too. Here's the church and their sentinel, and a monument to the Icelandic pioneers. This is an interior photograph. West of the Peters Cemetery is another cemetery called Andvari. And then there's another church and cemetery in the town of Pembina, but it was sold to the Ukrainians. Our Icelandic ancestors placed their religion and faith in high regard. Ladies' Aid congregational groups were formed, and they held an active role in the community. Building a church was an important priority, and everything was done to accomplish the building of their place of worship. And they built 9 Icelandic churches in northeast North Dakota. Until a church was built, religious services were held in private homes. They had the custom of reading sermons, Bible verses, praying, and singing hymns every day. Pastor Paul died before any of the Dakota church buildings were done, but he laid the strong foundation. His brother, Neil Stangrimer, took over duties as pastor at the death of his brother and was ordained in 1888. Their cousin, Hans Thorgrimsson, was an important leader and minister that started the synod and the Dakota church buildings. Next came Reverend Friedrich Bergman. He was born in 1858 at Garðvík in the Eyjafjörður and was a minister from 1886 to 1902 when he moved to Winnipeg to teach at Wesley College, but he grew up at Garter. A famous North Dakota pioneer, also from the Garter area, is the poet Stephen G. Stephenson. He and his wife, Helga Jonsdottir, were the first couple that Pastor Páll married. There is a monument in northern Iceland where he was born, in the Skagafjörður. He first emigrated to Wisconsin in 1873 and then came to Dakota in 1880. They lived in the Garter area for just shy of 10 years. His father, Gudmundur, and his little son, Jon, died there and are buried at the Garter Cemetery. You can come and visit the original Dakota homestead of Stephen G. Stephenson and see this monument near Garter. In the small town of Garter, there are 2 Lutheran churches. The beautiful Garter Pioneer Church, built in 1888. This is where the cemetery is located. Just across the field, in 1910, the Luther's Church was built during a religious controversy that split the congregation. Luther's is where we hold our regular church services, and special services are still held at the Pioneer Church. The 2 congregations merged in 1925. These 2 guys are the first settlers in Garter Township, Sigurjón Sveinsson and Benedict Johannesson. They came in 1879. There was timberland for building and fuel, open areas that grew tall prairie grasses which they turned into farmland, and a steady supply of water from the nearby river. There were meadows and sloughs to support the food and the drink for their livestock. Many of the settlers in Garter Township had lived in Wisconsin and Minnesota for a few years, where they learned farming and hunting. This was a great benefit to them. Many descendants of Benedict Johannesson still live in North Dakota. They built rural schools, and education was so important to our Icelandic pioneers. From Garter hails our own nowadays Icelandic icon, 1999 recipient of the Knight's Cross of the Icelandic Order of the Falcon, Sir Magnus Olafson. He was born in October of 1920 and is a highlight for visiting Icelanders. Magnus speaks perfect Icelandic and is such a treasure to our community. This year, he was honored as the Grand Marshal of our 2nd of August Icelandic Heritage Celebration of 2010. West and north of Garter is this Fjalla Church. The congregation was organized in 1886 and the church built in 1894 with land from Olafur Einarsson and his wife. Here's the monument to the Icelandic pioneers at Fjalla. Way further west, out by Minot, North Dakota, is the Icelandic community of Upham, or Mouse River, with the Melanchthon Church, some Wild West Icelandic cowboys, giant hayfields for ranching, and the Norse Hostfest, North America's largest Scandinavian festival held each fall. In 1947, a Mouse River Icelander named Andrew Laurus Freeman came up with a great invention. He was an electrical engineer and invented and patented the head bolt heater for cars. His invention helped cars to start in those cold North Dakota winters. We can have minus 40 degrees. That's the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit. Another Scandinavian festival in our area is the Hjemkomst Festival. Each year, at the end of June, the Fargo-Moorhead area Nordic clubs join forces to present this fun event. The Icelandic Club organized many activities and performances this summer in 2010, but the highlights for me were the church service on Sunday, the performances from the Reykjavik Boys Choir, and Almar was a tour guide, Gudrun Ingamarsdottir, Christina Sunley reading from her book, The Tricking of Freya, and Minneapolis chefs Anders Eriksson and Aylin Hansen giving cooking demonstrations. George Freeman, Halfdan Helgeson and I, genealogy, and everyone's favorite place where you can buy all the Icelandic goodies, Amma's Kitchen. Last but not least, I bring you to the city of Mountain, where our favorite celebration takes place. Here, in the center of the Icelandic community, is the location of the oldest Icelandic church in all of North America, called Víkur. Our annual Icelandic Heritage Celebration, called August the Deuce, or the Deuce of August, commemorates the day in 1874 when Jón Sigurdsson had convinced the Danish government to begin giving Iceland back some of their freedoms. A new constitution was brought to Iceland, and all the clergy had services that night, August 2nd, 1874, to celebrate and welcome the king. A small group of Icelanders who had immigrated to Milwaukee also held a celebration that day, and ever since, the Western Icelanders celebrate this special Day of the Icelanders. The North Dakota community has been celebrating this event for 111 years. That's Loretta Thorfinson Bernhoft and her husband Wayne. She is the honorary consul to Iceland from North Dakota. We have a heritage program and church service. There's dignitaries, community leaders, Senator Curtis Olafson and his wife Bjork, of course Sir Magnus, and Johnny Johnson. There are souvenirs and art, choirs from Iceland. And all around town you can see people with their old friends and their new friends. There's babies and kids and bigger kids and even bigger kids. There's heritage tours, reunions, and the North Dakota State pickup and tractor pull. There's the Vicar Church luncheon. There's dances and food and drinks for all. The awesome parade is always a highlight for young and old, and the streets are always packed. There are lots of pretty girls. And the Icelandic National League in Lögberg Heimskringla. There are shiny cars and fireworks and horses and dogs. And so much fun for the kids. But I think that the big kids seem to have a lot of fun too. We have the Genealogy Center manned by George and I with a Skype and internet connection back to Iceland and Halfdan Helgason. Thank you, Halfdan. We could not do such great work without you. And thanks to Prime Minister Johanna for her visit in August. The Cousins Across the Ocean project has been a huge success. We find living relatives for the Icelanders that come to visit us, and it is so rewarding. Pastor Paul, the father of the Icelandic settlement in Dakota, is buried beside Viker. Way back in 1878, he believed that the Dakota settlement was going to be a huge success. He envisioned the legacy of the Icelandic prosperity in America and the potential that the Dakota settlement could bring. His unwavering determination, eloquent speaking, and the support of the Norwegians in Minnesota and Dakota helped to ensure the success of the Dakota Icelandic pioneers. We respect our Icelandic ancestors for their courage and determination to leave their beloved homeland, friends, and relatives to move to the unknown land and strive for success in America. They had to work hard to build their life and community based on strong moral values, faith in God, devotion to family, and the importance of a good education. May God bless them, and may their noble, independent spirits live on in us, their descendants. So come help us celebrate the opening of our new community center next year. And thank you to the citizens and government of Iceland for supporting this project. We want you to come to North Dakota. The state and the people invite all of you to come for a visit. The descendants of the Icelandic pioneers enjoy your friendship, and we are so proud of our Icelandic heritage and our connections with our cousins back here in Iceland. Come celebrate at the Hjemkomst and the Deuce. Come see our farms. Come and enjoy the beauty of our countryside and the rivers and the flowers. Go hunting or fishing and have some fun. Come and see the big tractors and the men and the women that know how to drive them. Or maybe if you are very, very brave, you can come for a visit in the middle of winter. We invite you to come. Come and visit. See all that the North Dakota Icelandic settlements and the descendants of the Icelandic pioneers have to offer. We welcome you to North Dakota.